It's 2 a.m. You're lying in bed, staring at the ceiling. Your phone is face down beside you. Your mind won't stop talking. And somewhere in the back of your head, a thought creeps in. Something is wrong with you. But the real answer is far stranger. For most of human history, waking up in the middle of the night wasn't a problem. It was the plan. Picture a small camp under a wide sky. No streetlights. No screens. Just a low fire, a circle of sleeping bodies, and the sound of the wind moving through grass. Somewhere around midnight, someone stirs. Then another person. Soon, half the camp is quietly awake, murmuring, tending the fire, watching the dark. This wasn't insomnia. This was Tuesday. Historian Roger Kirch spent years digging through old diaries, court records, and medical texts from before the industrial era. What he found again and again was a strange pattern. People described two distinct sleeps. A first sleep, beginning shortly after dark. Then, a waking period in the middle of the night that could last 1 or 2 hours. Then a second sleep, carrying them through to dawn. This middle period had a name. People called it the watch. During the watch, people prayed. They talked. They had sex. They told stories. Some got up and did small chores by candlelight. Then, when the body was ready, they drifted back into the second sleep. Now here's the question. If your ancestors split their night into 2 halves with a quiet hour in between, why does your modern brain treat that same waking moment as a crisis? To understand that, you have to go back further than candlelight. You have to go back to a fire on the savannah. For early humans, darkness was not empty. It was full. Predators moved at night. Rival groups moved at night. The temperature dropped, and a small body could lose heat fast. A group that slept in one uninterrupted block, completely unaware of its surroundings for 8 straight hours, was a group that didn't survive very long. So evolution did something clever. It built a brain that sleeps in waves. Sleep isn't actually one long, smooth state. It's a cycle. Light sleep, deep sleep, REM sleep, then back up toward the surface again. Each cycle lasts roughly 90 minutes. And at the boundary between cycles, your brain naturally rises closer to wakefulness. For one tired, modern human in a dark, quiet bedroom, this barely registers. You roll over. You don't even remember it in the morning. But for someone sleeping in the open, this matters enormously. That brief rise toward wakefulness is a built-in security check. A moment where the brain essentially asks, is everything still okay out here? If the fire is still burning, if the group is still breathing steadily nearby, if there's no strange new sound on the wind, the brain says yes and slides back down into deep sleep. If something is wrong, that moment of near wakefulness becomes a full wakefulness, fast. This is why a parent can sleep through traffic noise but jolt awake at a baby's faint cry. This is why a strange creak in your house at 3 a.m. can pull you out of a dead sleep in an instant. Your brain never fully stopped listening. Anthropologist Carol Worthman spent years studying sleep in small-scale societies, places where electric light barely exists and the rhythms of the day are set by the sun, not by alarm clocks. What she found challenged a lot of assumptions. Sleep, in these communities, wasn't a private event behind a closed door. It was social. People slept in groups, often near a fire, with constant low-level awareness of each other. Waking briefly in the night wasn't unusual. It was simply part of how a group stayed safe together. Sleep neuroscientist Jerome Siegel took this even further. He led research teams to study sleep patterns among hunter-gatherer and forager-horticulturalist groups in Tanzania, Namibia, and Bolivia, communities living without electricity, much like humans did for the vast majority of history. What his teams found was surprising. These groups didn't sleep dramatically more than people in industrialized countries. But their sleep was different in another way. It was tightly linked to temperature. People tended to fall asleep a couple of hours after sunset, as the temperature began to drop, and wake up around sunrise, as it began to rise again. Darkness wasn't just a cue for sleep. Temperature was doing a huge amount of the work, nudging the body down into sleep and back up out of it. So now picture your bedroom. The lights are on until the moment you decide to sleep. The temperature is the same at 9 p.m. as it is at 3 a.m. There's no fire dimming, no night air cooling your skin, no sense of a group settling down around you. Your brain is still running the same ancient software. It's just running it on completely different hardware. That 2 a.m. wake-up isn't a malfunction. It's an old subroutine firing in a new environment. Your brain rises toward the surface, the way it has 1,000 times before, expecting to check on a fire, a group, a threat. It finds none of those things. Instead, it finds silence, darkness, and a glowing rectangle on the nightstand. And here's the twist. That glowing rectangle is the worst possible thing to find. Light, especially the blue-toned light from phones and screens, sends a powerful signal to a small structure deep in your brain called the hypothalamus. This structure controls your internal clock. When it detects bright light, especially blue light, it tells your body that morning has arrived. Production of melatonin, the hormone that helps you feel sleepy, drops. Your second sleep gets pushed further and further away. So the watch period, the ancient, natural middle-of-the-night wakefulness that your ancestors used for quiet conversation or rest, becomes something else entirely. It becomes 45 minutes of scrolling, 45 minutes of news, messages, and bright light convincing your brain that the sun is up. By the time you put the phone down, your body isn't gently easing back towards sleep. It's confused. It just received a strong wake-up signal in the middle of what should have been a quiet pause. This is part of why so many people describe lying awake at 2 or 3 a.m. as distressing, even frightening. Your brain treats wakefulness in the dark as meaningful. For hundreds of thousands of years, it usually was. Something needed checking. Someone needed comforting. The fire needed tending. Now, there's nothing to check. But the old alertness still switches on. And with nothing real to focus on, it often turns inward, toward worry, toward racing thoughts, toward every unresolved problem in your life. The watch becomes a spotlight, and the spotlight has nothing to illuminate except your own anxieties. Some researchers have wondered whether the disappearance of segmented sleep might be connected to broader patterns of anxiety and insomnia in industrialized societies. It's a complex picture, and sleep, like most things about being human, doesn't have a single tidy explanation. But the pieces fit together in a way that's hard to ignore. Remove the fire. Remove the group. Remove the darkness. Add a screen. And the same ancient nighttime wakefulness that once felt natural now feels like something has gone wrong. So what can you actually do with this? You can't recreate a savanna campsite in your bedroom. But you can work with your biology instead of against it. If you wake in the night, try not to reach for the phone. That bright light is the single biggest signal telling your brain it's time to be alert. Instead, let the room stay dark. If your mind is busy, that's not failure, that's the watch. For most of human history, this was simply time to exist quietly. Some people find it helps to keep a notebook by the bed, jotting down whatever is circling in their head, almost like handing it off to someone else, the way your ancestors might have handed a worry to the person next to them at the fire. And consider your evenings. A gradual dimming of lights as the night goes on mimics the slow drop in temperature and light your body evolved to expect. It tells your internal clock that the day really is ending, not just that you decided, abruptly, to lie down. None of this will turn your bedroom into a hunter-gatherer camp, but it might turn that 2 a.m. wakefulness back into what it actually is. Not a glitch, not a sign that something is broken, just the watch, arriving on schedule, the way it has for nearly every human who ever lived. It's 2 a.m. You're lying in bed, staring at the ceiling. And maybe, for the first time, you realize that's exactly where your brain expects you to be.